Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent. A goal joining you at the end of the week. We're 2 days away from Tottenham versus Arsenal. Arsenal's final pre-season game of the summer. I really don't like the fact that Arsenal playing Spurs in a pre-season game. It's not a pre-season game. I don't know, just for me. I know it's a different sort of summer and you've got to find fixtures against who you can, but playing Spurs in pre-season, it doesn't feel right to me, but hey, who am I to say who Arsenal pick and choose who they play the friendlies against? I will be at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Sunday, so looking forward to getting my first actual proper look of Arsenal in action this summer. I clearly wasn't at the Chelsea game last weekend because I was on holiday, but I will be at Spurs. I'll try and do a video if I can from that one, and hopefully Arsenal can finish pre-season with a win. I'll talk a little bit about that game at the end of this video, sort of what we might be able to expect to see in that one. But first of all, I thought I'd just talk a little bit about transfers. Before I start this video with a bit of the state of play of Arsenal's transfer window as it stands now. We've got just over 3 weeks left of the window, so where are Arsenal and what could be to come this summer? I did write a piece on Goal. If you haven't seen it, head over to goal.com and you'll have a good read of the piece I put up yesterday. So you can also find a link on my Twitter account and Facebook as well. Just kind of looking at where Arsenal are, what they've got to do, what they want to do, why they've maybe struggled a little bit up to this point to get exactly what they wanted to have done. We all knew before this window started it was going to be a big one. It was going to be there was supposed to be a big summer overhaul. Arsenal were looking to get a lot of things done, move players out, bring players in. Arteta had build it as having the potential of being unprecedented. Not quite there yet, although Arsenal have signed 3 players. They have spent £75 million, which in the middle of such a financial crisis, which this is in football, and the fact that Arsenal have lost hundreds of £millions in the last year or two, it's not really to be sniffed at, especially when they haven't brought any money in yet through player sales. So they have spent £75 million. They have spent £50 million on a defender, the most they've ever spent on a centre-back. So, clearly work has been done there. But there are still priority positions that haven't been filled for Arsenal right now. And, we know they want an attacking midfielder. They need to get a backup goalkeeper, someone to go up against Bernd Leno. That is something that I still expect will be done before the end of the window. It has to be done before the end of the window. You can't go into this season with Alex Runarsson as your number 2 and Arthur Okonkwo behind him. It's just not workable. You have to go out and get another goalkeeper who can fill in and really compete with Bernd Leno. So that's something that will be done by the end of the window. But ideally Arsenal want to have this done now. We're only a week away from the season. It starts a week today, in fact, away at Brentford. And the big issue Arsenal face so far in this window is just the slow nature of the market and the fact that clubs do not want to spend money because they haven't got any. Arsenal went into this window knowing they needed to reduce the size of their squad. They haven't got European football to offer this season, so the chances of the opportunities to rotate are an awful lot less than they have been in recent seasons. It's very much going to be a case of pretty much weekend after weekend. There's not going to be many midweek games. Obviously, it depends how far Arsenal get in the League Cup. There is an opportunity to potentially rotate there, but other than that, it's just league until January when the FA Cup comes around. So you need to reduce the size of your squad, really. And Arsenal really haven't been able to do that. Only 3 players got out on loan this season, and some of them wasn't even here last season, like Saliba, like Mavropanos, Guendouzi as well. None of these even made a dent in the Arsenal squad last season. So it's not like they've moved players on who were already playing. They weren't playing. So they need to do more. You look at the players who Arsenal have been willing to let go: Bellerin, Xhaka, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Reece Nelson, Eddie Nketiah, Joe Willock even. None of these guys have moved. Lucas Torreira, none of these guys have moved on. And that is really hampering Arsenal in terms of bringing players in, because the squad is already very, very big for the amount of games they're going to have to play. And they've already brought 3 players in, yet added 3 players to that. The 3 have gone out, didn't play last season, they weren't involved. Yet they've brought 3 more in who are going to be involved. So suddenly the squad's got even bigger, and that is not ideal when you've got less games to play. So And also you've got to think of the money side of things as well, in terms of freeing up the wage bill, also bringing in some transfer fees if possible, which can be spent elsewhere. And so that's why we're not really seeing the movement that Arsenal would have liked up to this point. Now, people you speak to at the club insist, look, wait until the end of the window, judge us at the end of the window, and you'll see. And the noises that you get is that things are going to happen between now and the end of August, but the focus right now really has to be on getting some deals done for some players and moving players on. You look at people like Reece Nelson, Eddie Nketiah, if he's going to go. If not, Balogun potentially, can he go out on loan? Because he's not going to get many opportunities to play if he doesn't. Hector Bellerin, the right back, was a real area that Arsenal wanted to improve on this summer, but the fact they haven't been able to move anyone on, they've still got Chambers, Bellerin and Cedric. You can't go out and get yourself another right back while those three are still at the club and in the squad. It's just not going to work. So they've got to try and get something done, but unfortunately the market is so slow that it's proving very, very difficult. Bellerin is free to leave. He's quite happy to start something afresh. Arsenal are quite happy to let him go, but so far they just haven't had any real genuine offers on the table for Bellerin. Yes, there's been inquiries about loans, but for Arsenal that's not really any good at the moment. It's just kicking the can down the line for another season or so, and then by that time Bellerin's contract's run down even more. He doesn't want to sign a new one, which is understandable, or he's not keen to sign a new one, which is understandable. And these are the problems Arsenal are facing. We've seen it with Granit Xhaka again. It was a prime example. Arsenal were happy to let him go. He wanted to go, but there was money. Arsenal can't give him away. They need someone to spend a decent amount of money on him. That didn't come in with Roma. Now he's going to stay, and Arsenal are going to end up giving him a new contract. I've had my say on that new contract already. I don't understand it. I can understand keeping him if you're not getting decent offers for him, but I can't understand a new contract. But again, it's just a prime example of where we are and why this window has been a little bit slow to get going. I do expect it will move on in the next few weeks. It has to. Arsenal are going to have to work hard and get some deals done because they need to get at least a couple more players in. I've talked about that backup goalkeeper. That has to happen. The attacking midfield option that Arsenal are looking to bring in, that has to happen. You can't go into the season just rely on Emil Smith-Rowe and Bukayo Saka really to create you much. I mean, Smith-Rowe, basically all the burden is on his shoulders there to create from the central areas. You've got to remember that Arsenal have already lost Martin Odegaard, who clearly was heavily involved during the second half last season. He added that extra creativity in the middle of the park, that extra option to take the burden off Smith-Rowe. He's gone, so Arsenal are a man down in that situation. So they've got to sort something out and bring someone in. We know about James Maddison and the interest in James Maddison. Arsenal were hoping to get Odegaard back as well. That's looking more and more unlikely, although I still wouldn't totally rule that out as we get towards the end of the window. Anything can happen when it comes to Real Madrid, and their plans change. If they get a sniff of a chance of getting Mbappe before the end of the window, wouldn't at all surprise me to see Odegaard suddenly become available again. So I wouldn't totally rule that out, but we know that Maddison at the moment, Arsenal are very interested in him. Houssem Aouar's still floating around in the background as well. But you've got to move some players on, you've got to bring some money in, and you've got to get this last bit of I'm not even sure you can call it an overhaul anymore, because I'm not expecting Arsenal to get done what they wanted to get done throughout the summer, because it's just we're getting very, very close to the end of the window now, and there's still an awful lot to do. But that's the situation we're in. I'm not sure Arsenal are going to end up getting the right back that they wanted. I just feel it's looking more unlikely in that situation as it goes by. I wouldn't rule it out totally. Clearly things can still happen, but it's looking more unlikely. I think the two real priority areas now as we get down to the final sort of 3.5 weeks of the window are the attacking midfielder and that backup goalkeeper that we've talked about, and we know about the interest in Aaron Ramsdale. Whether that happens or not, we'll have to wait and see. Okay, so that's about it for my sort of brief roundup of where we are and the issues Arsenal have been facing. I hope that's made things a little bit clearer for you. Probably not, because I've been rambling, but hopefully so. Anyway, we talked about James Maddison there and the situation, and I've talked about it at length on previous videos. You've seen other reporters reporting on it as well. Now, Brendan Rodgers was actually asked about the James Maddison situation yesterday before Leicester's I was going to say Charity Shield game against Man City. Obviously it's a Community Shield now, and this is what he had to say about it and about the rumours and speculation with Arsenal. He said, I know he is very happy here and he wants to be here. If anything comes to the club, John Rudkin, who's a director of football at Leicester, would tell me straight away and I would deal with it then, but there has been nothing that's come my way. I've not been told anything to say that he won't stay. He's happy in training, he's working hard, he's a talented, important member of the squad. He's had a season disrupted by injury last year, but hopefully this season he can show what a real top player he is. He was further pushed. I'm sure you've probably seen the press conference clips now on Maddison and whether he would definitely stay, if he's definitely not for sale. And his response to that was certainly not convincing and definitive. I think the situation with Maddison when it comes to Leicester is clear. If Arsenal put down enough money, it would be no surprise if Leicester thought, okay, we'll take this one. They generally sell one big player a season. That hasn't happened yet. They need money at the moment to go out and buy, or they could do with money at the moment to go out and fix the centre-back position following Fofana's horrible injury. It just feels like, Leicester aren't going to come here and wave their hands around and say, yeah, come and sign James Maddison, he's for sale. It's clearly not going to happen. They didn't do that with Ben Chilwell. They didn't do that with Harry Maguire. It was always, their stance was they're happy here, blah, blah, blah. And it's going to be similar with James Maddison. It's going to be a case of Arsenal, if you want him, pay money, offer enough money for us to be tempted into doing business. If they don't do that, he'll stay. If they do that, then there's an opportunity there for Arsenal to possibly get this one done. We'll have to wait and see if it happens. It all depends. The ball is firmly in Arsenal's court in this one. Absolutely. It's going to be a case of show the money. Obviously, there's talk about swap deals and players putting in to sweeten the deal, but I just can't see that happening with Maddison. I've said it before, just because, Arsenal would clearly like it to happen. It would lessen the financial outlay that they'd have to do to bring him in. But Leicester are such a smart club. They've got such a firm idea on what they do when it comes to transfers and who they want to bring in. They have a clear list of players that they want to sign. You speak to anyone at Leicester about how it works there, and it is very, very clear. They're a very smart run. That's why when they do sell a player, they go in and fix it. They've got a clear idea of who's going to come in to replace them. Just having players kind of thrown on them, and certainly players who aren't really in Arsenal's plans, thrown on them to sweeten a deal for a player like James Maddison, I just can't see that working. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just can't see that working. It would go against everything that Leicester usually do in the transfer market, so I'd be very, very surprised. Cedric Soares, he's another one. He has been linked with a move away. Fenerbahce continue to be linked with Cedric Soares. Now, obviously, his move to Arsenal hasn't quite gone to plan. I know he's been very impressive this summer since he's come back, and he's been really, really fit. He's been working really, really hard, and he feels like he's got an opportunity here. I think the Hector Bellerin situation hasn't helped Cedric. With Bellerin potentially leaving, Cedric was going to get probably a decent opportunity to get some minutes along with Callum Chambers if Arsenal didn't look to bring in a right back. Suddenly, it looks like Bellerin's looking more and more likely to stay, and Cedric had been ahead of Bellerin in the pecking order in pre-season, but then suddenly against Chelsea at the weekend, Cedric didn't come on, Chambers started, Bellerin came on, and you wonder what the situation is there. From my understanding, Cedric Soares is very, very happy at Arsenal. He's determined to make a go of it. He's been working really hard in the summer to try and impress Mikel Arteta and force his way into his plans. Yes, there is interest from Turkey, from Fenerbahce, but Cedric's preference is absolutely to stay at Arsenal. Me personally, I feel like if Bellerin's head has been turned, which it clearly has not turned, but everyone was expecting him to go, it feels like Cedric possibly should be ahead of Bellerin now in the pecking order. We've seen when Cedric has come on, I think he's been pretty impressive in that, and he's been very harshly treated, I would say at times, by Arteta, in how it looked like he was in the run in to play games, and suddenly he's been frozen out again, then he's come back in, then he's been frozen out again. I think he's got every right to feel almost upset about the way he's been treated at Arsenal, but from what I understand, he's never been like that, and everyone at Arsenal is very impressed with how Cedric operates and how he works and how professional he is on the training ground, and that's what he's been like all summer from what I hear. So be interesting to see what happens with him between now and the end of the window. Like I said, the interest is in there from Turkey, but from what I understand, his preference is absolutely to stay at Arsenal, and he's determined to try and make a go of things and get himself in and around the first team this season. Just before I go, a little bit on Saliba. He was speaking yesterday at his unveiling with Marseille. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but some of the quotes quite interesting. This is what he had to say about why he moved to Marseille. He said, "I knew that this is where I was going to play this season, with a stadium on fire and supporters who expect a lot. For a 20-year-old youngster like me, that can only do me good. It was I who chose Marseille. Arsenal preferred that I go to England, but I knew that here was the right choice. I pushed and pushed for that." Again, I've spoken about this before. I'd have preferred Saliba to play in England. I think we know he can play well in France. We've seen that before. He showed it last season. He's a very good defender in League One. Personally, I'd have liked to have seen him play in England now this season and really show what he's about here, learn the game in this country, adapt to playing in this country, adapt to the language, if anything, have a year adapting to the language and come back to Arsenal next summer and have a real good go at it. Bit of a shame from my point of view that he's decided not to do that. Arsenal clearly wanted him to do that. They would felt it would be better for his development. He's decided not to do it. And I feel like that is a little bit of a shame. It would have been very interesting to see what Saliba week in, week out in the Premier League, and there was interest in him, certainly from Newcastle, and I wouldn't have been surprised if there were other clubs in the mix for him as well. So that's a bit of a shame. But look, Marseille's a very good club. They're a big club. A lot of pressure on his shoulders there because it's a demanding club. The fan base is demanding. They're in Europe. So, it's not a bad move for him. I'd have just preferred maybe he'd have stayed in England. Okay, right, lastly, before I go, just about the Tottenham game on Sunday, what we expect to see. This is Arsenal's last pre-season game before they kick off next Friday against Brentford, so I'm very much expecting the starting 11 that we see against Spurs will be very, very close to the starting 11 we see against Brentford on Friday night. I would expect Ben White to get his first start tomorrow. He came on against Chelsea, obviously, last weekend. I'd expect Ben White. Unfortunately, Gabriel is not looking like he's going to be around for the first few weeks of the season, so it's the case of who plays alongside Ben White. Do you play? You would think it would be Pablo Mari because it's going to be you'd have the left-footed and the right-footed centre-back, but there is the option Mikel Arteta has of playing three at the back, obviously, and then you could have White as a right-sided centre-back, Rob Holding in the centre, and Pablo Mari on the left side. Personally, I think he'll probably stick with the 4-2-3 formation, 4-2-3-1 formation that we've seen from him for a long time now, so you'll probably see White and Mari together. Chambers at right back, Tierney at left back, Leno in goal. Obviously, Partey, the key thing is going to be who plays in his absence because Partey's not going to be involved. So who plays along in midfield alongside Granit Xhaka? I really hope we see Sambi Lokonga, not Mohamed El Neni, and I just feel like that's the braver route for Arteta to go down in that one. And then Bukayo Saka's back. I doubt he'll start, but he's back. He's been back training. We'll probably see Saka off the bench. So probably think it's going to be Pepe on one side, Aubameyang on the left, Smith Rowe in the centre, and Lacazette as a central striker. Like I said, I will be at that game, so keep an eye out for that, all the action, all the reaction to it as well. And enjoy the rest of your Friday, everyone. I'll speak to you very, very soon.